personal events led to or influenced community organizing? I mean, well, I guess that for me, it would be my the Green Scheme, my personal events in my life or my background led me to be inspired to start an organization about um, educating people in communities of color about health and wellness and the relationship between their environment and your health and wellness. So, I mean, I'm from Washington D.C. area. My whole family is from here, and all my family, although not all of my family is sick or has diabetes and high blood pressure and all those things, but many of my family and friends do. And I live in a food swamp. I go home and can't get food that I feel is adequate, and most of my neighbors and friends can't either. So it's frustrating. In that experience or um, in that history, I was inspired to kind of do something about it. And through being involved with starting a Green Scheme and then becoming involved with PAFA, you see that there are other people who feel and believe in the same things that you do. So by bringing that group of people together and working with that group of people, you are able to kind of create a larger movement and do more. That's it.
Okay. So actually, Joel's answer makes me think of my answer. The thought that came to mind for me was specifically my personal experience with HAPA and how collaborating with people in HAPA has made me realize that I'm not on an island here, that there are so many people who care about the same food issues that I care about, and I didn't feel that way before I came here. I had supportive friends and supportive family, but no one was interested. No one was doing research and asking questions like I was, and I felt like I was alone and on an island trying to make something happen. And I was realizing quickly that that wasn't working. Working by myself was not the way that anything was going to get done. And so in coming to HAFA and finding people who really care and want to listen and want to discover what the food landscape really looks like here, and then discover how to address those issues was really important, and I've seen some awesome collaborations come out of it that I would have never seen otherwise.
So I think, yeah, I guess my story is actually pretty similar, but also sort of tied to land. I grew up in Wisconsin during a time when farmers had pretty much, gone two directions. They'd either become industrial farmers and sort of given into industrial agriculture and that model of growing, or they had sold their land to the people who had. And so, because they couldn't really afford to actually support themselves and their families by growing and producing food anymore. But I also sort of grew up in this area that was pretty isolated and rural, and if we hadn't grown our own vegetables, we wouldn't have had them. There was no store. My family's really big. My mom was really young, and we definitely I grew up with this understanding of both food insecurity, in the sense that if we hadn't grown our own food, we wouldn't have had it. And also, knowing that farming had become this sort of occupation where you couldn't just feed people anymore. And it was sort of environmentally destructive and stigmatized. But I also understood that people needed to eat, and they had to eat, and someone had to grow food. And just didn't, but it also sort of growing up in Wisconsin, which is the mother place of labor rights, and so my grandfather was the first union steward of the local butchers union in the late 60s when that sort of thing was just sort of coming into being. And so I grew up with this unique perspective on the food system, but also understanding the importance of collective bargaining and of labor rights and of people banding together and solving their own problems together. And I think HAFA actually is the embodiment of like the missing piece of like understanding, you know, the problem that I saw in the food system from where I was coming from, and understanding food security, food insecurity in my own life, and understanding like how food insecurity is also happening in urban locations. And I feel like HAFA literally was like that light bulb moment where I was like, okay, these people are working on these issues, and these people are working on these issues, and together we can totally come together and work on them together and have that like collective sense of, you know, all these various parts of the food system being represented and working together, versus, you know, what I thought was going on, which was like all different people working in different directions. And so for me, it's like what I grew up believing was the proper solution, which was to organize yourselves and to do it together. And HAFA like is the embodiment of that for me.